Hello, my name is Carson Latop. I'm a PhD student in agricultural and extension education at Penn State University. I'm here to talk to you today about my design project, GLAGcreates, which was a platform that used poetry as a medium for food security education. I'm going to explain to you a little bit about the background on this topic, as well as some of the objectives and the innovation used to design this curriculum. So, on that background, as the world becomes more globalized and we have all these tough challenges, we need students that are going to be better critical thinkers and problem solvers. And as they're leaving school, do they have the confidence to be able to do that? Well, we here at the Global Teach Ag Network decided to partner with Poetry X Hunger to launch a novel curriculum to be able to give kids more confidence to be able to talk about things like food security. And so we developed GLAGcreates as a system of modules that culminated in a poetry event where students would go through the modules and then write poems to apply the content that they had learned. And on the right, you can see one of those poems from our winner, actually, Tyler, a student from New York. It's a short snippet from his poem that won, and it was actually the first time he had ever written a poem. And especially on the tough topic of hunger, this is exactly what we were trying to get. We had 4 objectives going into this. The first was to form a sustainable partnership with a stakeholder, and that was Poetry X Hunger. We did that. We wanted to evidence collaboration across borders. We did that with 3 different countries, Malawi, Honduras, and the U.S. We wanted to increase the relevance of this programming by tying it to national standards. We did that. We didn't quite meet our goal of having 50 learners participate in the poetry event. We only got 25. But we had 103 actually engage with the module, so that's something we want to look at for next year to expand. In terms of design for this, it was pretty simple. We just needed to create a curriculum and then get it out to teachers. But to do that requires a little bit of work and some teamwork. So we developed some branding for this. We developed the content for it. And then we had the help of some other human beings. And so we had 2 members from the Global Teach Ag Network, 4 secondary educators in the field helping us do the editing for the curriculum. We worked with our global partner, Poetry X Hunger, to provide support with judges. We had an external facilitator that helped us with the students in Malawi. We had a subscription to Articulate 360 that was our platform to make the modules on, and then we used Qualtrics, Whova, and Zoom for all the technology needs. The true deliverable at the end was the innovative curriculum, and that was Poetry X Hunger. We gave them the branding slot there, and what we did was we had poetry in a curriculum, so students learned how to write a poem from start to finish, the basics of rhyming all the way through to the application of the tough topics, and then we had food security. And so students, as they went along, flip-flop back and forth between the two, and they had different lessons as they progressed back and forth. And then they were able to use the poetry concepts that they had learned to express the content from food security. And this worked really well, and as evidenced by 25 students at the end writing a poem who had never written a poem before, completing these modules and having the confidence not only to write a poem, but to write a poem on that topic. And we had tremendous feedback from the teachers who implemented the curriculum in their classroom as well. And what we've seen is that we don't necessarily have to have silos for each one of these topics, like poetry, that should be maybe in an English classroom or a language arts classroom, and then food security that might be in an agricultural setting or a science classroom. We can actually blend the two together and use both of them to help each other out. And so we're going to continue this in our future work. We're going to look at some research opportunities and seeing, okay, are students getting more confident when they're expressing their feelings on critical issues, like using a curriculum here? Are there other topics that we can use in arts to applied STEM settings? So we're going to keep expanding this module library to include all these different art forms and these different topics, and then provide more literacy resources to educators who desperately need them. And finally, I'd like to give a special thanks to Dr. Danielle Foster, Dr. Melanie Miller Foster, and Hiram LaRue for providing that administrative support. I want to thank Teresa Lewis and Ashley Shunk for making GLAGcreates a success by being the editors and being some of the primary pilot teachers and pilot programs to put this curriculum into play. And you can see my references below. And once again, to review, GLAGcreates is a platform, and so we're going to have more curriculum and more modules that come into this platform and more ways for students to use the arts to express themselves and to compete and ultimately have more motivation in the classroom. Thank you.